The story begins with a boy drowning, not in water, but in something far darker. As he sinks deeper, a voice calls his name from above. Two beautiful girls reach out as if to save him, but the moment they grab him, they pull him even further down, crushing the air from his lungs. He suddenly wakes up to the sound of his alarm. Catching his breath, he looks at a photo frame on his desk showing his younger self with his parents and quietly wishes them good morning, as he does every day. His name is Hayato Demoto. Due to circumstances he has grown used to, he lives alone and handles all his household chores himself. Despite that, he is not without friends. While doing his chores, he receives a message about Halloween shopping. Excited, he rushes out to meet his friends. He arrives late and out of breath, brushing off their teasing by explaining that he was delayed after helping a lost child, a pregnant woman, and an elderly man along the way. They aren't buying it, telling him to just admit he's slow next time. Kato, ever dramatic, demands a duel instead of waiting around for lunch. The three friends head into a costume shop together. Kato immediately makes a beeline for a rack of revealing girls' costumes, only for Hayato to shut the idea down and suggest something more reasonable, like a bear costume instead. While browsing, Kato suggests inviting some girls to their Halloween party, specifically the Shinju sisters from their class, who are known as the prettiest girls in school. The mention triggers a vague memory in Hayato, as the sisters remind him of two girls from his dream. Kato points out that the sisters supposedly live near Hayato and asks if he can invite them personally. He immediately rejects the idea, reminding him of the famous rumor that the sisters dislike men. According to the stories, every boy who confesses to them gets rejected without hesitation and ends up suffering bizarre bad luck afterward. The sisters openly claim they have no interest in romance and sometimes do not even remember the names of the boys who confess to them. Shocked by their reputation, Kato wonders if the rumors are exaggerated, but Hayato insists there is no point chasing an invitation that will never happen. He is perfectly happy with a small Halloween party among friends. After finishing their shopping, the boys part ways and agree to meet again the next day. On his walk home, Hayato notices a pair of twin sisters walking together hand in hand while chatting about Halloween. Seeing them reminds him of the rumor that the Shinju sisters lost their father, something that mirrors his own situation. He quickly pushes the thought aside, telling himself that sharing a similar experience does not mean anything. As he gets closer to home, he notices a front door standing wide open. Thinking it is strange, he checks the nameplate and is surprised to discover that it belongs to the same twins he had just been thinking about. Feeling uneasy, he decides to step inside and let them know their door is open. The moment he enters the house, a terrible smell hits him. Covering his nose, he cautiously looks inside, only to freeze in shock. A large man is holding three terrified women hostage while threatening them with a knife. His first instinct is to call the police, but he hesitates. Even if help is on the way, the man could still hurt someone before they arrive. Seeing the fear on the women's faces, Hayato realizes he has to do something. Earlier that evening, the two sisters had been walking home while talking about Halloween. One of them excitedly wondered what they would have for dinner, but their cheerful conversation came to an abrupt end when they noticed their front door standing open. Concerned, they hurried inside and called out for their mother. Moments later, they found a stranger holding her hostage at knife point. The man immediately turned his attention toward the sisters. Threatening their mother, he ordered them to drop their phones and obey him if they wanted to keep her safe. Terrified, they complied. Arisa desperately tried to stay calm while her younger sister trembled with fear. The intruder revealed that he had been following their mother and had taken advantage of an opportunity to enter the house. What should have been a normal evening quickly turned into a nightmare for the entire family. Back in the present, Hayato watches the situation unfold. The fear and desperation in the family's eyes make it impossible for him to look away. Clenching his teeth, he realizes that now that he has seen all of this, he cannot simply leave. Determined to buy enough time for the police to arrive, he grabs an iron rod and a Halloween pumpkin mask. Taking a deep breath and gathering his courage, he puts on the mask and prepares to step in. Aina continues crying and begging for help, but the intruder only tells her to be quiet, insisting that screaming will not change anything. Just when the situation seems hopeless, a strange object suddenly flies into the room and hits the man. Startled, he spins around, demanding to know who threw it. Before he can react, Hayato rushes in wearing a pumpkin mask and smashes an iron rod into the man's arm. The criminal cries out in pain and demands to know who he is, but Hayato bluntly tells him to shut up, saying he has nothing to discuss with someone like him. Taking advantage of the distraction, the mother quickly rushes to her daughters, and the three embrace in relief. Letting out a nervous breath, Hayato realizes things have somehow not completely fallen apart yet. Determined to end the situation, he grabs the criminal and informs him that whatever twisted plan he had is over. Moments later, the sound of approaching sirens fills the air. Realizing the police are arriving, Hayato ties the man up with a rope. The criminal suddenly becomes much more cooperative and begins begging for mercy. Hayato casually offers an alternative involving the iron rod, immediately convincing him to stay quiet. Although still shaken, the mother reassures her daughters that everything is all right now, thanks to the strange hero in the pumpkin mask. Hayato awkwardly tells them to focus on calming down and staying warm. Unfortunately, the sight of a masked stranger only makes the girls cry harder. Realizing the giant pumpkin head might be the problem, he insists he is not suspicious at all, which only makes him sound more suspicious. He then tosses them a blanket and turns away to give them some privacy. Just then, the police storm into the house. Seeing a masked man holding an iron rod, they initially mistake Hayato for the criminal. Before he can explain, the family quickly tells the officers that he is actually their rescuer. The confused officers ask him to remove the mask, but he politely refuses and suggests continuing the conversation outside. Before leaving, the family asks for his name. After a brief pause, Hayato declines. He does not want them to associate his face with one of the worst days of their lives. Outside, the officers inform him that he will need to answer a few questions at the station. At the police station, Hayato admits that rushing in alone was reckless, but explains that doing nothing would have felt worse. Since nobody was seriously injured, the officers let him off with a stern warning not to risk his life again. Once everything is settled, he finally heads home, relieved that the family is safe and that his identity remains a secret. Meanwhile, back at the house, the family is still recovering from the ordeal. Aina watches her mother repeatedly check the locks and jokingly suggests that they all sleep together. After saying goodnight, she heads into her older sister's room and quietly admits that she cannot stop thinking about what happened. As the sisters talk, their thoughts drift to the mysterious boy in the pumpkin mask. Despite never seeing his face, Aina remembers how safe she felt when he covered them with a blanket and tried to comfort them. More than anything, she wants to find him and thank him properly. Her older sister agrees, admitting that she wants to meet him again as well. The more they talk about their mysterious rescuer, the more curious they become. They know nothing about him, yet both feel certain they would recognize him if they ever met again. Before long, their conversation fades away as exhaustion finally catches up with them, and the sisters drift off to sleep. Hayato is walking to school the next morning when his friends jog up beside him. They throw out a quick good morning and ask, with real concern, if he's actually okay after yesterday. He waves it off with a smile and tells them not to worry. One of them grins and suggests that since he already had the gear ready, he should have gone full hero and saved the sisters in style. Hayato scoffs and points out exactly what kind of rescue he was supposed to pull off armed with nothing but an iron rod and a plastic pumpkin. Then the twins walk up and the moment turns awkward fast. One of them tilts her head and repeats the word pumpkin like she's testing it out. Arisa greets him warmly. He fumbles through a return greeting, caught completely off guard. Kato's jaw practically hits the floor. He's stunned the sisters even showed up today, let alone acting this normal. He lunges at Hayato and loops an arm around his neck, demanding to know since when he got close enough with them to earn an actual hello. The other friend chimes in too, pointing out this is the first time either girl has ever acknowledged his existence. Hayato shrugs them off and insists they're just neighbors, nothing more than a basic greeting. He stumbles slightly under the weight of his friends, piling on him, and tells them to take it down a notch. Once they finally peel off toward class, Kaito sighs dreamily and claims just seeing their faces this morning is enough to make his whole day. Inside the classroom, Hayato's attention drifts toward two girls gossiping a few rows over. They're whispering about a robbery that apparently hit the twins' house. One of them wonders out loud if some kind of serial thief is making rounds in the neighborhood. He keeps half listening through the rest of the period and straight through the science lab afterward. One girl speculates about what the intruder could have been after. The other tosses out a theory that maybe it was actually the mother and daughters who attacked someone else first. Hayato's stomach drops listening to the rumor mill spin out of control. Meanwhile, Aina sits in the classroom next door. Hayato finds himself glancing through the window at her. To his surprise, she looks completely unbothered. She's practically glowing as she chats with a friend, recounting how some mysterious savior swooped in just when she'd lost all hope. Her friend gasps and wonders if it might be someone from their own school. Aina shrugs and admits she has no idea, not even his name or what he looks like. The friend half-jokingly suggests that she should just date someone capable of protecting her instead. Aina immediately shuts that down, insisting she could never be interested in anyone except her mysterious rescuer. She then laughs and adds that her older sister is around for backup protection anyway. Her sister glances over and remarks that she's unusually full of energy today. Even the friend starts to doubt the robbery happened at all, though she still hopes Aina finds her hero soon. Watching from outside, Hayato thinks Aina has an impressive ability to bounce back from hardship. Still, the memory of her terrified expression from yesterday refuses to leave his mind. While he's lost in thought, Kato grabs him and announces that it's lunchtime. Hayato apologizes and says he just needs to put his book away first. At that exact moment, Aina catches the sound of his voice nearby, and something clicks in her mind. In the cafeteria, Hayato sits down with his tray and mutters a quiet thanks for the food. His friends, seated across from him, are discussing how quickly rumors about the robbery have spread. They lower their voices, agreeing that they shouldn't gossip so openly in case either sister overhears. Right as they say that, all three freeze when the sisters sit down at the table beside them. Aina turns to her older sister and asks if it's okay to sit there. Her sister agrees without hesitation. Hayato glances at his friends, who look completely overwhelmed by the sudden proximity. Even he struggles to focus on eating with so much tension in the air. Then Aina turns toward him, her eyes carrying an unmistakably warm look. Her sister calls her name, and she quickly looks away. Hayato's pulse spikes. He quickly convinces himself she wasn't staring at him at all and that sitting this close is nothing more than a coincidence. Aina sighs and scans the cafeteria as if searching for someone. She wonders aloud where her mysterious hero might be and shamelessly admits she's completely fallen for him. Hayato's bowl slips from his hands and clatters against the table. The sharp noise immediately draws both sisters' attention. Panicking, he grabs his tray and bolts before anyone can connect the dots. His friends chase after him, and the three end up huddled together in a corner of the hallway. Kato groans that he's completely lost his appetite trying to exist near that level of romantic intensity. He wonders what kind of man could make girls like that fall head over heels. Just then, a classmate walks past them with visible determination and approaches Arisa, asking if he could have a moment of her time. Arisa glances at Aina and tells her to head back to class without waiting. Aina agrees and says she'll catch up later. The boys exchange wide-eyed looks. A brave challenger has apparently decided to confess to the girl rumored to despise men, and that takes serious courage. Hayato suddenly announces that he needs the bathroom and quickly leaves. One of his friends calls after him, pointing out that he didn't need to explain himself. But Hayato is already gone, telling himself he has no reason to be this invested in what happens next. He follows the pair up to the rooftop and arrives just in time to hear the boy confess. Hayato watches with genuine curiosity. Arisa gently apologizes and explains that someone else already occupies her heart, so she can't accept his feelings. The boy reels back in shock, repeating the words "someone else" as if they've physically wounded him. Even Hayato is surprised. He wonders how someone managed to break through her supposed dislike of men before catching himself and considering that maybe the rumor was never true to begin with. Just then, a voice quietly agrees from directly behind him. Startled, he spins around. A finger presses lightly against his lips before he can react. It's Aina, smiling as she tells him to keep his voice down unless he wants the people below to notice they're eavesdropping. Confused, he asks why she's there. Aina admits she came to see how the confession would end. When Hayato asks about the rumors surrounding Arisa, she reveals that her sister already has someone she likes. She then turns the question back on him. After fumbling for an explanation, he admits he was curious too and thought confessing so soon after yesterday's incident seemed like poor timing. Embarrassed, he adds that spying on someone else's confession is probably inappropriate. Aina simply smiles and tells him she still thinks he's being considerate. He can only stare at her, somewhat bewildered by the whole exchange. Suddenly, the rejected boy below declares that hearing about yesterday's incident made him regret not confessing sooner. He vows that from now on, he'll protect Arisa himself and never let anything hurt her again. Hayato quietly admits that the line actually landed pretty well. Then the boy reveals that he has something he wants to give her. Aina immediately becomes curious and tugs on Hayato's sleeve, determined to get a better look. Hayato tells her to relax. Down below, the boy reveals that he wrote Arisa a poem and holds it out to her. Before Hayato can say anything else, Aina suddenly asks him to lean forward slightly. He does, only for her to climb onto his back to get a better view. Declaring victory, she tells him to hold still while she watches. Hayato immediately panics and demands to know what she's doing. Completely unfazed, she asks why he's making such a big deal out of it. He flushes at her blunt response. Then she laughs softly and admits, almost as an afterthought, that she really just wanted an excuse to talk to him properly. Hayato blinks, completely lost, and asks again if she actually wanted to talk to him. She huffs, pointing out that if he keeps using her last name, she won't know whether he means her or her sister, so could he please just use her first name already. Her grip around his neck tightens until he yelps and begs her to ease up, finally calling her Aina. She glances back, asking if that was really so painful. He insists it wasn't, just please stop strangling him. She hops down off his back, remarking that at this rate he's just going to spend his whole life watching her sister from a safe distance, then tells him to relax about the name thing and calls him Hayato in return. He freezes slightly, oddly thrown by the sound of his own name in her mouth, Below them, the confession is wrapping up. Arisa tears the poem clean in half, telling the boy she has no patience for people who project their own feelings onto her without a thought for what she wants, then turns to walk off. He calls after her to wait. Aina watches the scene and notes that her sister seems unusually drained today, adding that the boy was persistent and a touch selfish despite how gently he got let down. Then she yanks Hayato sideways, whispering that the rejected boy is heading their way and they need to disappear fast. Hayato steps in front of her on instinct. She glances up, suddenly aware of how close they've ended up. He apologizes quickly, pointing out they'd already been closer than this a minute ago, and right as he says it spots a storage box tipping over above her. He pulls her into his arms and lets the box land across his own back instead, sending them both crashing to the floor. He asks if she's hurt, then realizes exactly how awkward their position is. He shoots upright, stammering an apology and insisting it was completely unintentional. She tilts her head and jokingly wonders if he pays more attention to her than he admits. He scrambles for words, insisting it was a total accident. She reaches over, takes his hand, studies it for a beat, then laughs under her breath, murmuring that yes, no doubt about it, this is the same hand. He stares at her, baffled by the sudden laughter, and apologizes for whatever just happened. She brushes it off, says she has to get back to class, remarks on how fast time flies, and starts to leave. He blurts another sorry after her. She glances back and tells him there's no need, they'll talk properly some other time. He stands there afterward, quietly wondering if there even will be a next time, half convinced she's secretly annoyed and that the whole incident probably dragged up memories she'd rather forget. He bolts down the stairwell, muttering to himself about what he just did. After school, Aina steps into her sister's room and tells her that resting her head on her hand like that is bad for her posture. Arisa admits she knows, she just can't stop thinking about him. Aina leans in and whispers that she gets it completely, though the dramatic sighing is a little much. Arisa flushes and says she can't help missing him, that the moment he saved her made falling for him basically inevitable. Her sister shrugs and says nobody can predict the future. Arisa nods and adds that's exactly why she wants to see him again, thank him properly, and repay him however she can. Her eyes practically sparkle as she jokes that she'd do anything to repay him for saving her. Aina takes her hand and tells her quietly that she feels exactly the same way. Arisa blinks, caught off guard, realizing she got carried away and that even sitting here with her sister, her mind keeps drifting elsewhere too. Aina laughs and wonders what their classmates would think if they saw her like this. Arisa's face hardens, and she tells her not to joke about that, admitting it still makes her feel sick remembering today. Aina goes quiet and asks if it's her fault. Arisa points out that plenty of boys confess to her too, yet she can barely stand them touching her hand. So really Aina has the easier version of this. Aina tenses and quietly agrees. Arisa catches the shift and asks what's wrong. Aina turns away, claims she's just tired, says goodnight, and slips out the door. Arisa tells her it's fine, no pressure, but she should at least learn a few names of the boys in their class. Aina shuts the door and says she'll try. Alone again, she realizes she hid something from her sister and the unfairness of it settles uncomfortably in her chest. There's no undoing it now. She climbs into bed, and even with her sister just one wall over, she can't calm her racing thoughts. She can't stop thinking about him, wondering what kind of person he really is and whether she'll ever meet him again. She tells herself to keep quiet no matter what, even as she feels her grip on that slipping. For a second, she swears she can see him right there, saying her name, and she lets herself sit inside that thought a little longer. Aina has carried a quiet contempt for men for as long as she can remember. As a child, she was once called aside by her homeroom teacher without any clear explanation, and by the time she understood the reason, that resentment had already taken root. Walking past classrooms, she would often catch fragments of boys talking about her behind her back, words that lingered in an uncomfortable way. She used to wonder why men always looked at her in that particular manner, one that made her feel uneasy. Over time, she decided it was easier to simply avoid men altogether. That resolve, however, was completely broken by Hayato without him even realizing it. The next morning at school, she walks straight up to him and casually comments that the weather is nice. Hayato stares at her in confusion and points out that while the weather is fine, the more important question is why she is standing in the boys' bathroom. Aina calmly replies that it was the easiest place to find him. She steps closer and reminds him that he still owes her a proper conversation, asking when and where they should talk. Hayato immediately cuts her off and insists they leave the area, physically guiding her out. A group of boys notices her exiting the restroom and freezes in shock, whispering in disbelief. Arisa overhears the commotion and rushes over, pushing through the crowd to reach them. She pulls Aina behind her protectively and warns Hayato not to come any closer, demanding to know what he did. Hayato insists it is a misunderstanding, but Arisa's suspicion only deepens as she questions his intentions. Aina quietly tries to calm the situation, explaining it was just a conversation and suggesting they return to class. Before leaving, Aina turns back to Hayato and casually tells him she will see him next time. He freezes at her words, and so does Arisa, who immediately notices she used his name. Aina simply replies that she was told to start learning people's names. Arisa studies her for a moment, beginning to suspect that her sister is hiding something. Later during PE, Arisa realizes Aina is missing during the stretch break. She goes looking for her and eventually finds her with a boy's head resting calmly in her lap. Arisa is stunned and immediately demands an explanation. Hayato jolts awake, startled, and quickly sits up. Aina calmly asks why he reacted so strongly and continues speaking to him as if nothing is wrong. Arisa watches from a distance, growing more uneasy by the moment. Hayato explains that he had nowhere quiet to rest and ended up there by chance. Aina responds in a relaxed tone, continuing the conversation in a teasing manner that unsettles Arisa even more. Arisa, listening from nearby, begins to quietly suspect that Aina's behavior is changing because of him. After class, Aina meets Arisa and says she feels a little tired from the day. Arisa reminds her about their plans to stop by the shops on the way home. Aina agrees and says she will finish quickly so she can rest afterward. Arisa suggests they spend some time together later, and Aina agrees. Nearby, Kato and Hayato watch the sisters leaving and comment that the day is finally over. Kato brings up how unusual Aina's behavior has been, noting that she has never approached someone like that before. Hayato admits that he cannot understand what she is thinking, which unsettles him. Kato teases him about being involved in something complicated and brings up the upcoming Halloween party. As they walk away, Arisa looks back at Aina and becomes more convinced that Hayato is the cause of her sister's change. Quietly, she decides she will keep a close eye on him from now on. Halloween arrives in the neighborhood, and Suta's house becomes the center of the year's most chaotic costume party. Hayato shows up dressed like a tough construction worker, holding a metal rod like he's ready to start building something on his own. Kato takes one look and almost laughs, saying his kendo stance looks funny when paired with a hard hat-style outfit. Hayato replies that Kato, dressed as a vampire, only chose it so he could act dramatic around people. Kato doesn't deny it. The party ends up being less of a spooky event and more of a casual hangout with food, which everyone enjoys. The highlight is Suta's mother's cooking. When Suta complains about her nagging, she quickly scolds him and reminds him he's been eating her food for free. Hayato tells him to be more thankful, and Suta immediately apologizes to his mother with forced politeness. Suta's mother then checks on Hayato about a recent dangerous incident and tells him he's always welcome at their home. Before he can answer, Kato jokes that friends don't need formal invitations. The night continues with games and eating, including a messy round of Twister. Later, Hayato walks home feeling overly full from food. He remembers his childhood, especially times when he came home late and his parents worried about him. His mother used to scold him, but also cried, asking him not to break her trust again. In the present, he holds his mask and decides to enjoy a little more time outside since it's still Halloween. Across town, Arisa and Aina are at a hardware store, even though it's Halloween night. Aina is confused, but Arisa says she is buying something to scare off a creep. Aina thinks it's for self-defense, but Arisa says it's actually to confront someone directly and make sure he never bothers her again. Aina pulls her sister out into the streets instead of staying in the store. Outside, Arisa looks at the decorations and wonders if that person might be somewhere nearby. Aina teases her, saying she is still thinking about Hayato. Arisa strongly denies it. They argue a bit, with Aina teasing her and Arisa insisting she just wants justice, not anything else. When asked about Hayato, Arisa calls him dangerous and untrustworthy. Aina is surprised by how harsh she sounds. At that moment, Hayato is talking to a child across the street when he suddenly feels uneasy, as if someone is thinking about him angrily. He looks up and sees both sisters staring at him. Arisa realizes it is the pumpkin man from before and shouts loudly. Hayato panics and runs away. While escaping, he drops his metal rod. Arisa picks it up and uses it as an excuse to follow him, saying she is not chasing him. Aina quietly wonders if her sister has not realized who he is talking about emotionally. The girls catch up to him and corner him. Aina stands in front of him, smiling while Arisa praises her. Hayato tries to deny everything, saying they have the wrong person. They don't believe him. They move to a park to talk. Hayato ends up sitting between the two sisters, feeling very awkward. Arisa thanks him for saving her earlier and asks for his name. Nervous, Hayato says his name is Jack. Aina laughs quietly, while Arisa becomes very excited and starts asking him many questions. Aina then reveals the truth, which shocks Arisa completely. Arisa realizes that Jack is actually Hayato, the person she dislikes. She becomes very embarrassed and starts apologizing repeatedly. Aina stands next to Hayato, happy that her suspicion was correct. Hayato tries to calm Arisa down, saying it's not a big deal, but she becomes even more dramatic and insists she owes him a huge debt for saving her life. This leaves Hayato speechless, wondering how his normal Halloween night turned into such a chaotic situation. Arisa stares at Hayato like he's just hung the moon, the realization hitting her that this is the boy who pulled her out of despair months ago, and somewhere in that instant, she became deeply attached to him. Now she wants to repay him with everything she has, insisting on dedicating herself fully to expressing her gratitude. Hayato, predictably, short-circuits, insisting he genuinely cannot process what she's saying. She presses on anyway, explaining she's been waiting for this moment ever since he saved her, and that she'll accept whatever role he gives her as a way of repaying him, even if it's excessive or unnecessary. Hayato, flustered beyond words, tells her that's an incredibly intense thing to say out of nowhere. She immediately apologizes for making things awkward, but insists she just wants to return the favor somehow. He tries to steer things back to reality, reminding her that she was furious with him not 5 minutes ago. That snaps her out of her daze instantly, and she spirals into apologies, admitting she not only got his identity wrong but hurled insults at him based on a complete misunderstanding. Aina jumps in to clarify that her sister's outburst earlier was rooted entirely in that mix-up, and Arisa, teeth practically grinding from embarrassment, vows to spend her whole life making it right. Hayato waves it off, insisting he never asked for any of this and certainly isn't owed gratitude, especially since he wasn't even trying to be a hero. Both girls immediately protest, pointing out that without him stepping in, they might not even be standing here today. Overwhelmed by their closeness and the sheer emotional weight of it all, Hayato can barely move. He settles on one simple request, asking them to drop the formal honorifics since they're friends now. The girls react instantly, hearts visibly racing at the suggestion, which only confuses him further. Before he can dwell on it too long, Arisa points out that they should hurry home before getting caught in the dirt outside, and Aina chimes in that she needs a change of clothes anyway. Hayato mentions that his place happens to be nearby too, and offers to walk with them. Arisa lights up, clearly thrilled, slipping right back into formal speech out of excitement, which earns her a gentle correction from him. She agrees to relax her tone, and the three make their way to the girl's house together. They part ways with a promise to see him the next day. Once inside, Arisa collapses backward in disbelief, stunned that she never realized her secret crush had been living so close all along. She quietly scolds herself for being so shameless, yet can't stop looking forward to seeing him again tomorrow. Hayato, meanwhile, is having the opposite reaction entirely, jolting awake from unsettling dreams that seem to pull him deeper into whatever strange bond is forming with the twins. Morning arrives, and he drags himself out of bed, feeling like he barely slept. Stepping outside, he's startled to find both girls waiting to greet him, cheerfully announcing they'll be walking to school together. He pinches his own cheek just to check if he's dreaming. Aina reassures him there's nothing to worry about as long as they avoid drawing attention, and Arisa adds that being seen with them shouldn't cause much of a stir. Hayato silently disagrees, feeling like this is way too much excitement for so early in the day. Arisa then teasingly asks if he has any questions for them, recalling their own barrage of questions toward him the day before. Aina immediately suggests he could ask about personal details about their preferences, sending him into a flustered panic. Before he can object properly, Arisa casually blurts out information without thinking. Hayato immediately yells her name in protest, telling her she shouldn't say something like that so openly. She insists she would only share it with him. Aina, completely calm, casually mentions that she compares herself to her sister in that area. This makes him beg them to stop and save this conversation for literally any other time. Aina then suggests they continue talking about it at her house in the evening. Arisa adds that their mother also wants to properly thank him in person. Before Hayato can fully react, the girls announce that school is closed for the day and leave, promising he will be warmly welcomed if he visits. He waves goodbye and watches them go. He quietly thinks that the two of them have brought a completely unpredictable kind of chaos into his life. In the classroom, Hayato slumps over his desk, completely drained, when a friend nudges him and asks what's going on. He musters just enough energy to confirm he'll survive until lunch. As he straightens up, his mind drifts back to the twins, who seem determined to seize every possible chance to get closer to him. He grits his teeth, still confused by their sudden attention. His friend can't resist asking how he managed to get noticed by two girls at once. The other guy at the table, however, seems more interested in grabbing ramen than gossip. Kato, meanwhile, launches into a passionate speech about wasted youth, pointing out that half a year into high school, Hayato still doesn't have a single romantic story worth telling. Hayato brushes it off, insisting relationships aren't something to rush into. He adds that things never feel as lively when it's just the guys hanging out, like they did at the party. Still, he admits he has never once felt lonely since starting school. Kato remains unconvinced, saying he just wants to experience the excitement of having a girlfriend. Both friends point out that he has basically been complaining about romance the whole time without anything actually happening. The other friend adds that Kato is thinking about it the wrong way. Instead of chasing an abstract fantasy, he should imagine the simple happiness of having someone beside him. The comment unexpectedly makes Hayato think of his own parents, and he quietly agrees that having someone constant beside you really is comforting. Realizing the mood has shifted, he shakes it off, apologizes, and directs everyone toward lunch. Kato sulks a little, imagining what it would feel like to walk to the cafeteria with a girlfriend. Hayato reassures him that kind of thing will come eventually. Meanwhile, Aina sits alone when a boy approaches and awkwardly asks her out. She declines immediately. He insists, saying she's exactly his type, but she shuts him down again without hesitation. Defeated, the boy storms off, saying he won't give up so easily. He swings the door open and nearly bumps into Arisa, who had apparently been listening outside. Arisa teases her sister for eavesdropping, but Aina suddenly hugs her, visibly upset by yet another unwanted confession. Aina says she just wants to talk to Hayato. She regrets not getting his contact information the day before, blaming the chaos of all their questions. Arisa points out that maybe it's time they let Hayato learn more about them too. That idea excites Aina, and she becomes eager at the thought of closing the emotional distance between them. The thought of seeing him again makes her visibly restless, while Arisa also becomes overwhelmed by anticipation and decides she needs to change her outfit to calm down. Across town, Hayato finds an old-fashioned letter in his shoe locker inviting him to a cafe. He complains about how outdated the method is, but still decides to go, knowing he wouldn't normally visit such a place. At the cafe, the receptionist greets him warmly, assuming he's alone. Then the twins wave him over with bright smiles, clearly happy he came. He admits he couldn't really say no to both of them. Inside the overly decorated cafe, Hayato feels out of place as the sisters watch him closely, teasing him for looking nervous. He deflects by ordering coffee, trying to stay composed. Arisa explains she often visits this cafe with friends. She also mentions that Aina prefers sweet food while she prefers spicy dishes. This surprises Hayato, who hadn't realized they were so different. Aina then explains why they invited him. She reveals that they developed a strong distrust of men after a disturbing experience in elementary school involving a teacher who turned out to be a predator. That trauma carried into high school and shaped how guarded they became. Because of that, Hayato's earlier act of bravery meant a lot to them. Arisa softly admits that meeting him changed how she views things. Aina suggests exchanging phone numbers, and although Hayato hesitates slightly after hearing their past, Arisa insists and quickly saves his contact, clearly happy. She then excuses herself to the restroom, leaving Hayato slightly uneasy. Aina quietly asks him not to stare at the bathroom door so obviously. Once her sister is gone, Aina asks him why he rushed in to save them without thinking. He explains that logically he should have waited for the police, but imagining what could happen made him act immediately. Aina becomes emotional and briefly tenses up, saying she might not be okay. Hayato gets concerned, but at that moment Arisa returns, replacing her. Hayato notices Arisa rubbing her stomach and asks if she feels unwell, but she brushes it off. Outside, the waitress looks confused by the strange situation unfolding near the restroom. The conversation resumes. Arisa asks about his future goals, and he admits he hasn't decided yet. She shares hers instead, saying she wants to stay by someone's side forever and support them completely. When she asks if that sounds strange, he reassures her it sounds kind, even though he privately thinks it sounds like a lifelong commitment idea. While Aina is still away, Arisa grows anxious about her. When Aina returns, they finish their drinks, and Hayato suggests heading home. However, Aina receives a message from their mother asking them to stop by the store. Arisa panics at the idea of losing their walk home with Hayato. Aina suddenly hugs him first, joking that it's fair since she didn't get her turn yesterday. Arisa quickly apologizes, then declares it is her turn to be a little selfish and pulls Hayato toward her as well. Hayato nearly chokes from surprise when Arisa suddenly admits that she would like to spend some time alone with him. She explains that she understands Aina was the first to find him after the incident, but she also wants a chance to be with him herself. Caught completely off guard, Hayato struggles to find the right words. Seeing his reaction, Arisa quickly starts to backtrack, saying he can simply forget she ever mentioned it if the idea makes him uncomfortable. Before the awkwardness can grow any further, Aina cheerfully steps in and announces that she can go shopping on her own. She even tells her sister to enjoy some one-on-one time with him until dinner. The declaration leaves both Hayato and Arisa speechless. Hayato immediately demands to know why Aina is casually phrasing it that way. Meanwhile, Arisa quietly asks whether he is uncomfortable with the idea. Panicking, Hayato hurriedly denies it, His concern is not the outing itself, but the possibility of rumors spreading if classmates happen to see them together. To his surprise, Arisa admits that such things do not bother her in the slightest. Growing impatient with their endless hesitation, Aina practically orders them to stop overthinking and get moving already. Without wasting another second, Arisa leads Hayato away. Before leaving, he reminds Aina to stay safe on her way home. As they make their way through town, he asks where she intends to go. Arisa reveals that she wants to visit a clothing boutique, leaving Hayato curious about what exactly she has in mind. The moment they step inside, Hayato realizes this is not the type of shop he expected. Arisa, on the other hand, seems completely captivated by the selection. As she browses through the displays, she excitedly points out items that catch her attention. Before long, she picks up a rather eye-catching outfit and asks whether he thinks it would suit her. Hayato can only answer honestly. In his opinion, she would look good in almost anything. Those words are all the encouragement Arisa needs. With a bright smile, she disappears into a fitting room while Hayato waits outside, doing his best to patiently wait and not overthink the situation. A few minutes later, she emerges and eagerly asks for his opinion. Hayato takes one look and admits that the outfit genuinely suits her. The compliment instantly lights up her face. Pleased with the result, Arisa decides to purchase it. As they continue strolling through the streets afterward, she happily mentions how encouraging his compliment was. Hayato quickly realizes that every casual comment he makes seems to have a stronger effect on her than he expects. Their conversation eventually shifts toward her family. Arisa reveals that both she, Aina, and their mother have been hoping he would visit their home someday. Hayato is genuinely stunned. Until now, he had assumed their invitation was simply a polite gesture. Arisa quickly corrects him, explaining that they sincerely wish to thank him for what he did and get to know him better. After hearing her out, Hayato finally agrees to visit. Delighted by his answer, Arisa promises that her family will welcome him properly and make sure he feels at home. By the time they part ways, she seems happier than she has been all day. Meanwhile, Aina is experiencing a very different afternoon. Growing increasingly restless, she sends message after message asking whether her sister plans on returning home anytime soon. Every few minutes, another notification appears on Arisa's phone. Eventually, Arisa cannot help but laugh and point out that Aina has asked the exact same question countless times already.